Good morning. When you see China for the first time, you're not ready for it. I arrived in 2012 to Shanghai, and I spent about 7 years living there. And I still remember the feeling of disbelief of everything that I was seeing. This is a photo of Shanghai from just a few years ago compared to today. Now, my family has a lot of experience in the home building in Europe and in the United States. It took a long time to build London. It took centuries. It took centuries to build New York. But Shanghai was built in just 3 decades. And that's the story of all the cities across China. It was a rural country, over 1 billion people living in the countryside, to over 60% urban, and all in the past 30 years. And seeing it from the perspective of someone who understands building, it was more impressive still. This is a country that had never seen a high-rise skyscraper, let alone built one, but they built tens of thousands of them. Modern shopping malls and hospitals and airports. And I asked a lot of people a lot of questions. I wanted to know, for example, how they learned to build and service millions of elevators that they'd never seen before. How did they figure out HVAC, the air conditioning and heating systems? Where did all the electricity come from? Because that all started from zero. How did they manage all the civil engineering, the high-speed rail and the heavy rail, roads, bridges, dams, highways, while at the same time you're moving tens of millions of people from the countryside to the cities? Where did all the equipment come from? The bulldozers and the excavators, the pipe laying equipment. They needed 1 million of those things. How did they do all that? How did they train all the mechanics? I'm still learning about all that stuff. Back to the houses and the buildings, though, there is a critical difference between how Chinese companies build and companies everywhere else build. The Chinese do as much of the work as possible in factories, standardized. Then they ship them to the work sites where workers there put them together. Whether it's a villa or a small office building or a skyscraper, most of the skilled labor takes place on the factory floors. The Chinese invented a new way to build, and in doing so, pushed down the cost of construction to a fraction of what it costs Western companies. The entire process is a lot less expensive, and it's a lot faster. I'm in one of those factories now. This is a factory my company uses to build small homes and smaller apartment buildings. The entire house is standardized assembly line work, then put into shipping containers right over there, and they're on a ship in 3 days. This factory can build over 100 homes a day and ship them to anywhere in the world. Local property developers then take them off a truck and put the houses together on site. There are lessons here for builders in North America, in Europe, and in Australia, where housing affordability is at historic lows. We have enormous social problems now because young people cannot afford homes. They can't afford to get married and have children. We need to build homes differently, and we need to do it fast, or the next generation of Americans and Europeans won't even be born. Behind me are 2 examples from this factory. This A-frame model is one we inspected several times during the construction process for it. I'll include links to some more of the pictures. The price for this one is $29,000 US plus shipping, and they're using it now as an office. The other, just behind it, is a typical steel frame style house, which is under construction now. Here is what it will look like, but it's fully customizable inside and out. We can make it bigger, 2 or more floors, add bedrooms and bathrooms, whatever you want. There are 3 things to point to in particular. First is the low cost of construction compared to anything in developed markets or in major cities anywhere in the world. Construction cost is under $50 per square foot in USD. Usually it's around 40, which is below $4.20 US in square meters. That is less than a third what construction costs are in Western markets. On-site construction time is also dramatically reduced. The local contractor builds the foundation, then takes the delivery of the home, and total construction time is under 30 days. This A-frame unit went up in 23 days, start to finish. The third thing that I need to emphasize is that the roofs on these models are not complicated. If a house design has a lot of different angles and pitches, it's much harder to design on this end, and most factories don't even like to quote it. These are examples here where we tried, but engineers here in China don't like them. These roofs are complex, and it's far more difficult to model them for snow loads and high winds, for example. But for models like these here, those are easy. Multifamily housing, that's also okay. As long as the roof is simple, we can build it. And we can do it for under a third the cost what you'll spend sourcing materials locally, and for under a third the construction time. This is Shanghai. Be good.